Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaya Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Vishnuprayesha Vadresha Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhagavati Neshtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute, text 20 onwards. So previously Krishna spoke about 4 kinds of people don't surrender, 4 kinds of people who surrender, even with material desires, they're considered pious. And out of them, Jnani, one who comes with knowledge, he's the best. And even though somebody doesn't have the knowledge of Bhagwan or Bhakti, but comes after many, many lifetimes, then they surrender unto me. But what about those who don't come? So that's what he explains in this text. Kamestastar hirtjnana prapadyante anya devata tam tam niyamam asthaya prakritya niyata swaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. See, this is another thing about Vedic scriptures. There is path for everybody. There is way for everybody. It's not like my way or highway. That's it. You go to hell eternally. No, Krishna himself is saying, okay, fine, the intelligence has been stolen by material desires. Okay. It's not like they would be cast into hell forever, but they still follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So everybody has a different nature. So accordingly, they follow the rules and regulations. But this is where the service or duty, the responsibility of Vaishnavas come in, that they give the right knowledge so people can follow the right path. That's all. Not that, oh no, you're a demigod worshipper, so stay away from me, cast down, look down upon you, and this and that. And we start doing fatwa against them. No. So those who are freed from all material contaminations surrender unto the Supreme Lord and engage in his devotional service. As long as the material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees. As long as the material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees. This is what Prabhupada is saying. So going by that standard, we are only struggling to become devotees actually. We're not devotees yet. But even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not so much attracted by external nature. Because of approaching the right goal, they soon become free from all material lust. So even if the desires are there, material, this is what lust is. Lust means to enjoy my senses rather than serving Krishna's senses. But soon they will become free. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that whether one is a pure devotee and is free from all material desires, or is full of material desire, so desires liberation without material contamination, he should, in all cases, surrender to Vasudeva and worship. As stated in Bhagavatam, akama sarva kamava moksha kama daradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Less intelligent people who have lost their spiritual sense take shelter of demigods for immediate fulfillment of material desires. So this is what happens when somebody takes shelter of demigods. Immediate fulfillment of material desires. Generally, such people do not go to the Supreme Personality of God because they are in the lower modes of nature, ignorance and passion, and therefore worship various demigods. Following the rules and regulations of worship, they are satisfied. The worshippers of demigods are motivated by small desires and do not know how to reach the supreme goal. But a devotee of the Supreme Lord is not misguided. Also, in this verse, and in chapter 2 also it has come, Krishna talked about demigods. Normally, people, even in India, don't know or don't think correctly that they say Hinduism is a polytheism religion. No, Hinduism is completely monotheism. Polytheism means many gods. It doesn't talk about many gods. Prapadyante anya devata. Krishna said that. It doesn't say prapadyante anya ishvara. Ishwar, Krishna clearly said, Matta paratram nanya. There's nobody superior to me. But it just, people don't approach the right teacher. They don't read it properly. All the preconceived misconceptions are there in the mind. And, oh, Hinduism means polytheism. So Prabhupada has given the right word for Devata. He said demigods. It doesn't say God. So yes, demigods are there, 33 crore demigods. And many times we see this video going on Facebook and WhatsApp, sometimes it comes, and a person is saying, no, they're not 33 crore, there are 33 koti. The scripture says 33 koti. Koti means category or types of gods. No, koti can means category, but koti also means crore. So when it means crore, and Prabhupada has explained, demigods mean they are in charge of different departments of the material universe. If in India, Indian government, they have so many ministers and secretaries. And secretaries mean the IAS officers, BCS officers, IPS officers, and then you come down to other titles. There's so many people just to run one country, India. Why can't be 33 crore demigods all over the universe trying to manage all the affairs of the universe? In fact, every part of our body, every single part is controlled by one demigod or the other. Just like when we blink the eyes, it is called nimesh. So this is controlled by Nimi. Every part is controlled. So somebody is in charge. In charge of earth, water, fire, air. Somebody is in charge of every part. So 33 crore is a big deal. But it just, we don't have faith in the scriptures, we don't have the right knowledge, don't know where to go to get the right knowledge. So we make up these stories, and it's so easy to post any video on YouTube and just get some followers. And worshippers of demigods are motivated by small desires. Okay, some problem happens. Tuesday, Monday, let's go to Shiva temple. Tuesday, go to Hanumanji temple. Wednesday, I think people start going to Sai temple. Then Thursday is Ganesha. And Friday is Mata. And Saturday is Shanidev. But even if we cover only 6 demigods, there are 33 crore minus 6 more, what to do with them? They will not be happy, but people don't understand this. Because in Vedic literature, there are recommendations for worshipping different gods for different purposes. For example, a diseased man is recommended to worship the sun. Those who are not devotees of Lord think that for certain purposes, demigods are better than the Supreme Lord. But a pure devotee knows that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the master of all. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Ekala Ishvara Krishna Arsabhritya. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is master, and all others are servants. Therefore, a pure devotee never goes to demigods for satisfaction of his material needs. It depends on the Supreme Lord, and the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives. Because the Supreme Lord, Krishna, knows what we need, not what we want. So he gives us what we need, really need, to make further progress. And as Prabhupada quoted this Chaitanya Charitamrita verse, Ekela Ishvara Krishna Arsabhritya. Arsabhritya means, according to this, even all the Vishnu Tattvas are serving him. Arsab, it says, it doesn't say only the material, in the material unit. Arsab, everybody. This is position of Krishna. Of course, that doesn't mean they're going to serve like we serve, but that is their mood. And it is also mentioned that when Krishna comes, when Krishna takes his incarnation, all his avatars, they also come with him. So in his body, all the avatars come. Narasimha avatar and everybody come. Because that is Krishna. So, and demigods, yes, they are in charge of different departments of the material universe. But this is what they are. So if we want to get good health, as Prabhupada said, one should worship sun. But above sun, and who gives the demigods the power to bestow the benedictions? That comes from Krishna. So if we worship Krishna directly, the sun god will be pleased automatically. They all are servants of Krishna. If we worship Krishna, then do we think Shivji won't be happy, or Ganeshi, or Hanumanji, or Durga Mata? Or they all will be pleased. Only thing is, it's not that we will get the material desires fulfilled the way it would have been fulfilled if we had worshipped the demigods. But the problem is, if we worship demigods, get some material desires fulfilled, fine. But then that entangles us more materially. Then we are attached to those results, material results, and then the next birth and new desires, and then it becomes greed, and there's no end. And again go through the cycle of birth, old age, disease, death, adibhote, adhyatmik, adidaivic klesha. Why? So this is where bhakti comes in. Further, Krishna says, Yo yo yam yam tanu bhakta shraddhyarchitum ikchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tame vidadhamyaham. I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. So everything comes from Krishna, but the desire to worship demigod doesn't come from him. It says, as soon as one desires to worship some demigod, he's not going to make us desire to worship demigod. It is our desires. God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as Super Soul in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. So as a Super Soul, his duties are, he witnesses, he sanctions the desires to the extent we deserve, not beyond that. As the Supreme Father of all living entities, he does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask why the all-powerful God gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world, so lets them fall into the trap of the illusory energy. The answer is that if the Supreme Lord as Super Soul does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning to independence. And our independence is, we are infinitesimal, we are minute, so is our independence. It's also minute. Our only independence is we can desire. We have no power to fulfill our desires till it is sanctioned by Paramatma. And Paramatma sanctions it, then three modes of nature, they get activated. Whichever mode needs to be there, more prominent according to our desire. And then they bind us. We have seen this picture painting in Bhagavad Gita only. Three ladies are there up there and with the strings attached to these two men. And so these are three modes of nature. They make us play them. And we do the activity controlled by the three modes, sanctioned by the Supreme Lord, based on our desire, and then we get the reaction to those activities. So where is the independence? We are controlled by three modes, and Paramatma, and so many other things also. Demigods are there. Paramatma himself is not going to get involved, so demigods are there, then the three modes are there. Everything is controlled. Our only independence is our desire. And why this independence? Because we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is supremely independent. So we are minutely independent. And without independence, there is no question of loving Krishna. So that has to come from ourselves. We have to start desiring that, yes, I have suffered enough, whatever way we desire, let me serve Krishna. So, and because the love cannot be forced, so love has to come from ourselves, independence, free will. That is why the independence is there. Even after making tremendous progress spiritually, one still has independence, whether to proceed further or still want to enjoy material senses. Even after giving the whole knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, in 18th chapter, Krishna asked, is there anything else you want to know? Arjuna says, no, then do as you like. I mean, he still gave him independence. This is your choice. Yathechasi tatha kurumo. Although Arjun is a pure devotee and he understood everything, he realized everything. He said, Karishya vachanam tava. Whatever you said, I'll do. So this independence will always be there. Again, no forcing of anybody. for anything, because love is developed when we are given independence. Otherwise, it's force. So, Prabhupada said, therefore, he gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes. But his ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad Gita, one should give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto him. That will make man happy. Both the living entity and the demigods are subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the supreme will. As it is said, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, yes, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the but the desire to move is there in the blade of grass. That's what it is. The desire is fulfilled. Or the blade of grass, because the wind is there. And why the wind is blowing? Because the wind god is there, and wind god, why is making the wind blow in certain area? It is all controlled. But ultimately it's a sanctioning of Paramatma. So same thing with us. We can't even move a finger. We can't even talk, open our lips, tongue, move the tongue, if the sanction is not there. It just how we move the tongue, how we move the fingers, then we get the karmic reactions. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods, as they are advised in the Vedic literature. So Vedic literature says karma kanda is so much of Vedas are into karma kanda. 96% actually it is. Because the idea of Vedas is to make people advance gradually. So keep on following Karma Kanda. So at least one comes to understand there is some higher authority. It's better to follow Karma Kanda than not to follow Vedas at all, than to become an atheist. So has at least some higher authority is there. And slowly, when some or other he has acquired enough Agyat Sukriti bank balance, then he comes in contact with a Vaishnava, a devotee, then devotee can tell him, give him the right knowledge, so one can advance spiritually. So it's not that this life is all in all, then okay, if I don't do it in this life, then I'm doomed. No. Many times people argue, oh, you're talking about bhakti and this. And what about the tribes in Africa who have no knowledge? And what about them? Or what about people in Siberia? Well, first of all, this is not their first or last life. They have taken birth in those places because of some karma, some desires. So once that karma is over, their life is over, they'll take birth again somewhere. And sooner or later, they will come in contact with devotees. It's just how we use that opportunity, that's up to us. Independence is still there. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such and such a demigod. For example, a diseased person is recommended to worship the sun god. A person wanting education may worship the goddess of learning, Saraswati. And a person wanting a beautiful wife may worship goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. In this way, there are recommendations in the Shastras, Vedic scriptures, for different modes of worship of different demigods. And because a particular living entity wants to enjoy a particular material facility, the Lord inspires him with a strong desire to achieve that benediction from that particular demigod. And so he successfully receives the benediction. The particular mode of the devotional attitude of the living entity toward a particular type of demigod is also arranged by the Supreme Lord. The demigods cannot infuse the living entities with such an affinity, but because he is a Supreme Lord or the Super Soul who is present in the hearts of all living entities, Krishna gives impetus to man to worship certain demigods. And generally we see people are flocking to temples of different demigods every day and in millions and millions of numbers. Then they go to Krishna temple. The demigods are actually different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they have no independence. So this is also one item people like to argue about. Oh, they are different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. So they all are same. No. Part of my body, just like this finger, is part of my body, but that doesn't mean this finger is the body. Finger is the same as the body. It's not. It's part of the body. Huge difference. And here Prabhupada is explaining, demigods cannot infuse a living entity with any affinity, such an affinity to worship a particular demigod. No, it's only done by super soul. And further, Prabhupada says, in the Vedic literature it is said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead as super soul is also present within the heart of the demigod. Means the demigods have material bodies. They're not spiritual bodies. Krishna is spiritual, Satchidananda Vigraha, not demigods. Therefore, he arranges through the demigod to fulfill the desire of the living entity. But both the demigod and the living entity are dependent on the supreme will. They're not independent. So all these Devi Devata, they're dependent on Krishna. Also, demigods, Devi Devata, any living entity in the body of a demigod, he lives for a long time. But how long? Every day of Brahma has, or 12 hours of Brahmaji has 14 manus. So one demigod or one living entity in that position of a demigod, he rules for only that time period, one manvantar, which is long time, 71 Chaturyugas. But according to Brahmaji, is only 14 manus in his 12 hours. So every manu rules for maybe, 48 minutes of Brahmaji. So that's a lifetime of demigod. Of course, not for like Hanumanji or Shivji, Durgaji, they're a different category. But others, Surya, Chandra, Varun, Indra, they all are just for one manvantar. So they are not God. They're not Parameshwara. The people, we don't understand. And they all have, it's a position. So different person takes that position. So for Indra. So this Manvantar is the person who has taken over the position of Indra. His name is Purandar. Person who has taken over position of sun god is Vivaswan. Next Manvantar it will be different person. So that the Krishna himself says, no, Kamastasta Hirtagyana. One whose intelligence is stolen by material desires, surrender unto the demigods. So previously he said, one who has the right intelligence surrenders unto me. But no, then they go to demigods. And what Krishna does further, Satya Shraddhya Yuktas Tasya Aradhanam Ihate Labate Chatata Kaman Mayeva Vihitan Hitan. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desire. But in actuality, these desires are bestowed by me alone. So, no temple pujari will tell us this when we go to any temple with some material desires. नहीं, you do this, ये ताबीज पहनो, ये व्रत रखो, यहाँ इतना पैसा चढ़ाओ, and your desires will be fulfilled. The demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So the worship of the demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to demigods for some benefit. It's just like, in one way to understand, suppose in my city where I live, I want to get some government work done. I have some file that is not cleared and want to get some work done in my community or at my home or something, and I've been going to the different officers. So then one particular officer, maybe I bribe him, maybe I don't, whatever. He gets the work done. So then I'll be very happy. I'll be pleased with that officer, and I'll be maybe glorify him whichever way I want to. But where is that officer getting his powers from? He's not the absolute authority. So he's getting from higher officials, then maybe the chief minister of that state, but even the chief minister of the state gets the powers from prime minister. Or the constitution, but mainly if we go with the person, that will be the head of the country. But if I start thinking that officer is the supreme, then that is my mistake. Yes, he has done the work. I should give him credit, and he is in that position. Honor him, but he's not the supreme. That is just a mundane example, although we know even the prime minister is not the supreme. Supreme is Krishna, but going by that, just it's ultimately one person. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord. Asking for material benefit, however, is not a sign of pure devotee. A living entity goes to the demigods, usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Actually, it is said it is he's asking for wish. Anya kami yadi kare Krishnera bhajan na magite hai Krishna tare dena swacharan. Krishna kahe ama bhaje mage vishay sukh. Amrita chhadi vish mage ei bada murkha. Krishna says, if one engages in my transcendental loving service, but at the same time wants the opulence of material enjoyment, he's very, very foolish. Indeed, he's just like a person who gives up ambrosia, amrit, to drink poison. So it's not that we don't have material desires. We are not pure devotees yet, obviously, and we are struggling. We are pretty much in the beginning stages of our devotional service. So we do have material desires. But the intelligent person is, first, he goes to Krishna only to fulfill those desires. And then when we further progress, we understand whatever I need, Krishna will provide. He says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham in Bhagavad Gita. He will provide. So let him be the judge. When, how much, where, in what form he is going to provide, he is going to fulfill my material desires. And if he doesn't, then that is the best thing for me because he knows what's best for me. But to come to that level, one has to surrender. Means no material, anya bhilashita, shunya. It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight, obviously not. It takes time. But that is our goal. That is our ideal. So devotional service to the Supreme Lord and worship of a demigod cannot be on the same platform, because worship of a demigod is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material desires desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. So that is a status or the position of a pure devotee. But it doesn't mean, again, it doesn't mean that the pure devotees cannot be opulent. It doesn't mean that. Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was put on the throne of the whole world. The whole battle of Mahabharata was arranged for that. Because he was a pure devotee. It just, they understand whatever Krishna wants. Yudhishthira Maharaj, even though he was on the throne of the world, he was ruling the whole world. Not just India, not just Hastinapur, whole world. But as soon as he received the news that Krishna has left, he has unmanifested his pastimes, Yudhishthira Maharaj immediately, with his brothers and Draupadi also, he left for Himalayas. He gave up his kingdom, he left for Himalayas. He made Parikshit Maharaj as a king and he left. He was not attached. This is the beauty of bhakti. Even if Krishna gives everything, one will rule over, or one will engage that opulence and service of Krishna, but he's not attached to him. Okay, I guess I can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Nice class, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Nice revision. Yeah. Thank you.
Chalo, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.